Morning and welcome. This is indeed Power Breakfast on Citizen TV. It's that time when you take a look at the headlines. And today we are very privileged to have in studio Senator Beatrice Elachi.
Thank you.
Karibu sana, and also a candidate for MP Dagoretti North.
Yes.
On my left we have Bwana Norman Magaya, the CEO NASA Secretariat. And next to him Yusuf Hassan, MP Kamukunji. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Now, very interesting headlines here, and I'm sure you will want to comment on this one, especially the big pay cuts. Yes? Serena cut salaries in tough job changes. Top state officers, including president, cabinet secretaries, and other elected leaders, to take home less in sweeping reforms aimed at reducing ballooning wage bill. Now, MPs, governors, and MCAs hardest hit as they lose substantial allowances. I don't know now how that will be. That's the front page of the Daily Nation. On the Standard, same thing, and they've actually broken down the difference. MPs top losers in new salary slash. We'll be discussing why they are being described as losers. But let's start off with this story because it's also highlighted on both dailies on the front pages. Nkaissery heart attack, but what triggered it? That's the headline on the Standard. On the Daily Nation, Nkaissery died of heart attack, autopsy shows. Now, yesterday an autopsy was conducted on the body of the late CS Joseph Nkaissery, and the experts say he died of a heart attack. They've described that story was also on Citizen TV, and they've tried to describe what really happened to one of the veins or arteries, taking blood to the heart. And probably just because there was a lot of speculation surrounding that death, and hopefully now this puts everything to rest. Senator.
Yes, it does, and my condolences also to the family and to many of the orphans of Nkaissery. And I will not talk much about it because I know my brother passed on in 2014 just the same way. Talked with him at 8. By 3 a.m. he was not there. So I think death is a common destiny for all of us. It is how you go to your maker, and God knows. If there was anything mysterious or anything that anyone will speculate about, it is someone who thinks of different. I want to believe that God knows, and if anyone played a game on him, you are also on the same path. You will see your maker at another point.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one.
First of all, my condolences to the Nkaissery family. But again, we've seen the results of the post-mortem. But in this country, I've learned not to expect a lot from post-mortem examinations. But we will take it what it is, what the pathologists have said. As Senator said, the thing is, everyone is common destiny, whether natural, whether there's anything. Eventually, all of us will go that route, hoping that one day death itself will die.
Finally, Yusuf Hassan, a quick comment on that.
I also want to join my colleagues in sending my condolences. I was really shocked by his sudden demise. In fact, I spoke to him on Friday morning, just the day before, and I also served with him in 2 parliaments, the 10th and the 11th, before he was appointed a cabinet minister, and he was a very forthright, very patriotic Kenyan, and it's a big loss for all of us. And I'm glad now that the pathologists, the specialists, have put that rumor to rest. I think we should let his family mourn his death in peace, and we should all be able to send him off to his final destination peacefully.
Yes, and the burial has been set for Saturday. CS Joseph Kasaine Ole Nkaissery will be buried on Saturday at his home in El Bisil in Kajiado County. Let's now move to the biggest headline today. MPs top losers in new salary slash rather. Of course, even the president has taken a pay cut. The deputy president, all the speakers, everyone has actually taken a pay cut. But the MPs are being described as the top losers. Why is this? The Standard perhaps has actually captured this on the front page. New pay structure. Serem's team takes a bold step of slashing salaries of top public wage earners, with next MPs losing at least 455,000 a month. You just imagine 455,000 being taken away from your salary. Of course, also affected are the president, deputy president, CSS governors, and MCAs. Now, this the change, apart from the basic salary for MPs, is also has to do with the allowances, seating allowances. I've seen even somewhere where MPs, once they go to Parliament, they receive a 5 million shilling car grant. That has also been taken away. Instead, they're now being given a 7 million shilling car loan. Sitting allowances, transport allowances have been capped at a certain amount. Do you think it will be practical to sustain this, or do you think MPs will come back and fight it?
Well, why should they fight it in the first place? I think when we were even closing Parliament, some of this was already in the vineyards, and anyone who is coming in should understand where the country is going, or else we are lying to Kenyans. And what we need to ask ourselves is that how do we now sustain, and that is what Sarem has to be thinking about. Slashing is okay, but how do we now ensure what you have slashed? Because when you see the doorstep of the Mheshimiwa also, with a lineup of, I don't know, all the welfare challenges of this country, because people just talk. But I don't see the guys in the private sector who earn huge money coming and doing some of the very serious needs that every politician does. A politician will be in every burial of his constituent. He's supposed to ensure if they don't have a coffin, if they don't have a vehicle, he's part of those processes.
Senator, some of these things, it's the politicians who've decided to take up such burdens.
Never say that again here. Yesterday I was somewhere in a funeral planning. When I look at that house, I cannot ask anyone to do anything. I mean, just from that, not because of Mheshimiwa, but I told myself, God, you just have to provide, and I ensure this family gets the body home. And not just that, you can go for 18 of them, and it's the same challenge. So you need to walk first into homes before anyone says Mheshimiwa would wish. Mheshimiwa, there's nobody who would wish to be spending money on something that is not done. Nobody. But because everyone believes you are there now, you are the first door to be knocked on, that we need help. You cannot just sit and see your whole constituents. They can't go to school, they can't do this. Even those who have passed, the parent will come and say, I have this, Muhesh, I need this. You don't have at that time even bursary, but like now, there are those who are joining campus. Even buying a blanket is a problem.
But is that how this whole leadership, as a legislator, is that how it's supposed to work?
It is not.
You're providing funds directly to your constituents to help alleviate their issues. Is that the role of an MP or a senator?
That's our society. That is how it is shaped out. You can't blame MPs. Certainly no MP will wake up one morning and go dishing money to his constituents. It is the circumstances, it's the nature of our society that they look up to their MPs. And that's why I say the measure may be pragmatic, but I don't think it is informed by realities of the day. While it may be a good gesture in terms of taming the public wage bill, but I think there needed to have been a process that is accommodative, that is realistic to the realities of the ground. I think members of parliament are the only civil servants who genuinely share their salary. Many of them even don't spend a penny from that salary, and I think that needs to be taken on board when these pay cuts are being effected. There could be other measures of doing this without necessarily affecting, actually, like all MPs, the most vulnerable servants in this country, was every single moment a constituency is afflicted by anything, the first port of call is a member of parliament. And a member of parliament cannot just wish it away. You cannot say, you see, my salary was slashed, so I cannot sustain this. They still have to take it up. So it may be a popular move,
Yes.
in terms of public perception, but is it informed by the realities? Is our society also willing to adjust that quickly, that in another 1 month's time they will be able to let MPs do their legislative work only, without meeting the other demands in the constituency?
But
certainly that is not going to change.
But do you think that MPs should actually be honest and probably argue their case differently to the Salaries and Remunerations Commission, that yes, you understand our issues, that we have to attend to our constituents even through funding directly, that probably there could be, you could set up a benevolent kitty or something of that sort, instead of using transport allowances, mileage allowances. You're claiming mileage allowance just to go give it to your constituents. Don't you think that probably you're the guys who make the laws? Don't you think that probably you should be honest about the burdens that you have, and be honest and say, yes, we do give money, we do donate this money, probably we should have a kitty towards that specifically? Yes.
Well, first of all, let me just say that it is important that as a country, we're a developing country with very limited resources in terms of tax collection and generating money for development. And at the moment we've built huge institutions, like we have 2 parliaments, we have the National Assembly, and we have the Senate, and every county has a constituted assembly. Therefore, we have built an infrastructure that consumes a huge wage bill, and that is not sustainable. So therefore, it is important for institutions like that of SEREM to control that and to bring it down. But when you look at the focus on MPs, the MPs' salary levels have been demonized. They have been considered to be overpaid pigs who are predators feeding on the nation. It is not looked at rationally. For example, an MP from Turkana or Moyale or Kwale should not have a mileage allowance is ridiculous, because how else would he reach this remote marginalized region if he does not have? Is he going to pay, he or she going to pay from his pocket? No. The issue of transport, almost all staff, state officers have to have transport provided by the employer for them to be able to do their job. Now, in this particular arrangement, it is said that the MP would not be entitled to a vehicle under
a car grant.
Yes, a car grant, because which is one way of giving you a vehicle. Either the state provides the vehicle, or they allow you the means to buy it. And then the other element is the culture of our country. The culture of our country, like in my case, I did not become a member of parliament because of salary. I came to provide a service. The salary that I earn is not even half of what I used to earn in my previous employment. I don't have any other means of earning an income other than stealing, and therefore, if I am an upright MP, my salary is used within the first few days of receiving it.
So when they say that an MP will lose 455,000, I'm assuming this is in terms of allowances, don't you think that this will definitely affect your work?
Yes, it does, and then it is going to be taxed, and that is not reported by the media. So first of all, that is the problem, is the fact that the idea that the MPs have an inflated salary has made it difficult for them to argue their case in the public eye. And in most cases, many MPs subsidize their MPs who are honest and work with integrity. Have a problem in the sense that there is no any means of subsidizing that kind of needs and pressures from the community, other than digging into their investment if they have an investment. So I think it is important to cut wages. We really need to cut wages, but not only to cut wages, but maybe even sit down and reduce the number of MPs, reduce the number of other institutions that we have inflated by having huge numbers of MCAs, and rationalize all of that, because in the long run we cannot sustain them. So I welcome a reduction of salaries of public, high-ranking public officers. But I think also the Commission should be realistic and should not punish.
Do you feel they are a bit punitive when it comes to MPs?
I think...
well, yes. For me, you don't need to give MPs 7 million for a loan. Let the state provide every MP with a vehicle. And then let them maintain the vehicle. Because, you know, they say they give you a grant, but they never say who maintains. It is a vehicle that you're using to go. It's not a personal vehicle. So, Serem can even remove the 7 million, give every MP a vehicle, maintenance should come.
I can, for example, not take any loan because it has the interest rate.
Yeah.
Because of...
your faith.
Yeah, so it doesn't really benefit me in any way. Which
so
means I would have to buy...
deny the grant, it means probably you'll not be able to
absolutely
take up the loan.
Absolutely.
But do you think that because we have a history where Parliament has not just sat back and when it comes to matters of their pay, their remuneration, Parliament has always, even before things changed in terms of laws, Parliament used to set their own salaries, and that is where probably the problem came up, because they could agree and raise their own salaries unanimously. But now, do you think that Parliament this time around will just sit back and accept this new pay structure? Because
we are simply setting them up to negative publicity.
Yeah.
We've given them an offer that is not realistic.
Yeah.
So you don't see them taking this
certainly.
one?
And I don't think it was, because if you look at employment law in this country, any salary pay cuts should not just be arbitrary. They should be informed by a well laid out process and framework, so that any figure you arrive at is not just a figure that you have thrown in the air. This one is just an abstract figure, structured in an office.
I'm sure they must have their own reasons.
Not really. If they were meticulous in their work, involved the stakeholders in coming up with this, we will not be having this figure. But what we have done is now we've set this member of parliament up. They will come up to agitate like any other civil servant that this is not realistic, and in the end we will paint them as people who are greedy, people who are raiding the kitty for more than they deserve. Two, we are going to compromise the quality of representation and attendance in parliament, because people will not sit parliament with this type of money. They have children to take care of, they have needs of their constituents to take care of. They will have to seek alternative means of getting income, which means you will have quorum issues.
Sitting allowance,
then you will start blaming them that they are not attending parliament, they are attending to personal business. So this has a problem.
I think also, apart from the parliamentary sessions, the most important work in the kind of the new constitution, Parliament. The work of Parliament is mostly done in committees. And committees are long, they take long time. We sit for 2-3 hours at times to deliberate on issues like the budget, on important national issues. A lot of the MPs would skip those committee meetings if there is no any incentive, because apart from the hours you see us in the chamber, there are many hours that we spend in committee rooms working on parliamentary work and making
without sitting allowance, that will definitely compromise the work of committees.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Senator, do you think that you will just sit back and accept this?
Well, I think the best would be, and I wish that would have happened, that we have a Parliamentary Service Commission also, who indeed should be sitting down with Serem and explaining why this happens in Parliament at this. And I think Serem knows, she knows. But I know she also feels it would have been best to throw it to the public, so that by the time they come, they will not be able to face it as my dear brother says here, which is true. Because the moment you come in Parliament and you start fighting this, then people will start thinking the negative part of you, oh, they were just coming because of salaries. And I think that's why, and we are trying to also water down the institution. Yeah, because those who would wish to now come upright, who are willing to see change of Kenya, will not understand, why am I going there even?
But don't you think that probably even
and then
as a country,
also
we need to change the thinking of the kind of expectations we have on our legislators, probably to reduce the burden on them, that probably legislators are not just people to come and preside over fundraising events?
Well,
start even with our campaigns. We first subjected them through a very grueling, expensive campaign. When they are done with that, the responsibilities take up, and then we give them a pay that is not commensurate with their responsibility. And then what we are going to have is that the good people that are supposed to come up and take up these positions will shy away. And as I told you, then you will have a compromised quality of representation in the parliament.
We are talking about people who spent and have hosted, at least one person who admitted he spent 28 million shillings on the party primaries alone. He did not even get the party ticket. But someone who spends that kind of money on the party primaries, then more to campaign for the real election, then now it's a pay cut. What happens in such a case, Bwana Yusuf Hassan?
Well, I don't know, because you know, the reality on the ground is very different. People expect that election time is harvest time to be able to shake up the MP, and it differs from constituency to constituency. In my particular case, I don't think there is that huge amounts of money that is been spent by someone like me, because I simply do not have it. But it is a cutthroat business. It is a very competitive environment. I think Kenya has probably the most competitive political environment in the world. I have lived and worked in many countries. There is no such intensity in terms of elections that I have seen in many places. There are countries where I have lived and you only read in the newspapers and see on television that an election is taking place, but you never see any of the activities that you see in terms of campaigning in Kenya. For example, the huge amount that's spent on branding. I've seen hundreds of vehicles that are branded. The poster campaigns, the banners, the advertising, the billboards. You know, it's a huge industry, and huge amounts of money have been spent to reach out to that particular audience. And every parliamentary seat has more than 5 contestants. There isn't in many of the developed countries. It's usually 3 or 4 people. I have a ward in my constituency where there are more than 30 people contesting, and it is tough.
Don't you think that probably that high number was triggered by the kind of perks that people expect, that once you get into parliament it's about big money? Because that's what politicians have managed, you politicians have managed to show us, that you can go out to your constituency dishing out millions, 50 shillings, 200, 1,000 shillings, donate 20,000 at this Harambe, go to another, donate 100,000. Surely you are the same people who set yourselves up for failure. You showed us you have the money, so we know, yes, these people can actually do it. So we'll expect more from you even next time.
Well, it's because
can you sustain it now
people don't understand it's normally a network. That when I'm going to my constituency, I will go to Mheshimiwa, and do you know they contribute in a kitty and they give you knowing. It's like a merry-go-round, by the way. It's only that people don't say everything that they do together. But I would say that as a country going forward, I pray that we are able to look at the social needs of our people. It will take us a while to change that culture that was inculcated for years. And even we have tried in the 11th Parliament, but you can see still there is a lot of challenges. And it will be very, very difficult to stand to any of your constituents and tell him, even now you are not a Mheshimiwa, but they are still believing you can still do what Mheshimiwa does. So it's not something that you can just wake up in the morning and say, I have changed, I have done. And people, you look at the presidency, and it's very difficult to reach. So the soldiers of the presidency are the ones who have to take care of every need that they believe the president has to do. So even if you say the presidency, it is so difficult for anyone to go to the president and say, now help me this. So the people who are most affected are the MPs, not even the senators. I think the MPs are the ones who carry now the biggest burden, and the MCS.
Yes, the fact is that members of the National Assembly will now have a gross monthly salary of 621,250 shillings, down from 710,000 shillings. Now that's, I think, the least amount that has featured on the front page of the Standard. Of course, the president also takes a 200,000 shillings pay cut. The deputy as well, the deputy president, other state officials are taking pay cuts at different levels. But the biggest losers this time round, apart from this pay cut on the basic salary, members of the National Assembly and the Senate are going to lose quite a number of allowances that have been helping them, and probably that's what the Waheshimiwa on my panel are saying. That is what they used to donate to Harambes and help other people at the constituency level. Time now for a break. Our panel is about to get bigger. We're going to be joined by another member of the National Assembly from Yatta. Francis Mwangangi is already in studio. He'll be joining the panel as well to tell us his feelings about the pay cut that MPs are expecting. He's also seeking to go back to the National Assembly. We'll also be discussing this fight against the judiciary. Of course, we've seen and continue hearing comments, especially from the Jubilee side, on the campaign trail, and now hitting at the judiciary and accusing them of working with their competitors to interfere with the elections. That when Power Breakfast returns.